Kapow, 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 kapow. Man, you guys were supposed to laugh at that, actually.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Ah,
I didn't
ha,
know.
ha, ha.
Yeah, I was holding it back because I thought maybe there was like something like you're doing an intro that I wasn't familiar with. You had a whole script or something, and it was different versions of Kupo.
No,
But you know, I was
no,
I was trying to be respectful.
I
no.
genuinely just thought you lost your mind. That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's be real here. I have. Welcome, everybody. This is episode 116 of Perpetual Backlog Podcast. I am your host, like always, Aqua, and joining me are the Perpetual of Backloggers, Dalit and Leek.
I've gotten
Hello.
absolutely nothing done this week.
Oh,
I
nice.
played the Yeehaw game.
Oh, the Yeehaw game. Okay. And we got special guests here this week. The one, the only, Frosty Mog Talk TV.
Woo!
On TV.
And Mog Talk TV. Yeah, I don't know, man. your name
Well,
on Twitter is Frosty TV Stream.
Well, that's before it's fair. That's fair. Usually, my channel was used to be Frosty_TV, but I renamed it last year or so since the focus was so much on Mog Talk to Mog Talk, and now people just call me Mog Talk, which also feels very weird.
I bet.
So I just roll with it at this point and let it be.
All right, yeah. Well, you'll forever be Frosty or whatever.
I
'cause,
appreciate it. That
that's,
helps out.
Yeah.
Or Mog Talk TV apparently.
Mog Talk TV, a Frosty Mog. It's in quotations. It's like your middle name or like your
Right,
alias name, Mog Talk,
Mhm.
and then TV's your last name. So there,
Hey, are you related to Mike TV? Love that guy on.
Oh, my mother really loved
Electric-
him.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. Oh.
Okay.
Started off right. Yeah.
Yep. So on this podcast, we have like this like slight little order that we go in. We talk about like what we played this current week, whether if we tried new games or continuously playing like one game, or something like that. And then we move into our subject. Sometimes we have a question in the middle of it because I have one viewer that actually likes to submit questions. And yeah. So we'll start with you. How has this week been in P8S?
Oh, it's actually been it was interesting when I was doing the event. It's constantly memed about me having to do a mega and everything now. But a lot of the people I was working with, they're like, "Yeah, let's get in there. I'd be more than happy to jump in there and do some of it with you." And so this is like the yesterday was the first time that we did it, that I've done it without Party Finder outside of that one interaction or one time that we did it with Llama and a few of his, I guess, stream members. But it was good. It felt like a handful of them were at the same point I was, and very rusty and everything. And it felt like being in a static again, which I kind of missed. I mean, I love Party Finder to a
Do you?
degree.
There you go.
I mean, I am hitting kind of like a dead wall where I think P8S is, uh, it can be done by Party Finder, but it's very difficult to find a group that is declaring the progression that you're on and can actually achieve getting to that point to progress. And I hate feeling like I join a group and telling them I've been further than I have. So
Nice.
it puts me in a weird spot. But no, it's been good, and I'm actually excited to see how it all turns out. I'm not sure how Omega's going to go, but we'll see.
We have
You know,
faith.
I was just sitting here thinking, or like, so we do like a lot of variety content or whatever, and so some people might not know who you are. Actually,
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I am Frosty, Mogborn Mog Talk person. uh, I've been with the Final Fantasy 14 community in particular for quite a while, since about 2015. And I've been doing a podcast myself called Mog Talk, which is trying to be weekly or every other week or every other month, depending on the situation. And I just bring on people. I talk to them. Guests from the Final Fantasy 14 community is very, very focused on the Final Fantasy 14 scene, and maybe even venturing out every once in a while when a new Final Fantasy comes out or something of that nature, talking about different aspects of video gaming. But it all comes back to the community for Final Fantasy 14. It's very focused on that. Um, and besides that, I got myself caught up in tracking the world race a couple of years after I got into the community with that, and I've been stuck with it for a while. And I felt like
stuck with it, or you just decided, hey, this is my thing?
I did it because I thought it would be really cool to do, and then I kept doing it because people asked me if I would keep doing it. I'm like, yeah, sure, it's just filling out a spreadsheet, doing stuff and just watching it. And now it's evolved into what it is, and I do have a good amount of enjoyment doing it, and it is a lot of fun. But it is a little intimidating every once in a while, because I forget how it may come with some line of responsibility that I wasn't expecting. It was more of just me trying to fill out a spreadsheet, but now it's a whole event that raises money for charity, and it has a lot of factors. There's financial burden on it to have to do it. There's all kinds of things now, so it's evolved a lot. But that's the other part. Everything I do, at least as a content creator, always goes back to Final Fantasy 14. But I do play other games, right? I've
Not allowed to.
Yeah, you're not allowed to, actually. The Final Fantasy 14 community says 14 and 14 only.
yeah. Well, way back when I did do like I tried to do a small podcast with a few friends where we would play a game and then review it every week, and it was pretty much it was a dumb idea because we're adults and it's really hard to play video games, so many of them. And actually playing a new video game every week is pretty rough.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I've revitalized that though. Actually, just this year, I don't know why I decided to do this, but I made like a little video game book club of sorts. That we play a new video game, and it's not content. I don't put it anywhere. But I just get together and we play video games and try to get one done every month. We did what was last month? It was a kind of an indie game, the Golden Idol game. I think it was The Curse of the Golden Idol, which is actually a really interesting game if you guys like old school kind of mystery puzzle games. And then this month we're doing something completely different, which is the Dead Space remake. So
Yeah. let's go.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
Mhm. Yeah, so I've touched it a little bit. I haven't had a lot of time to get into it. I've played all of Dead Spaces before a long time ago, and I've replayed Dead Space 1 and 2 a couple of times. So it is interesting to go back and see it in high definition where it actually works properly with a PC. But yeah, I'm excited to get through it
Sweet.
again.
Sweet.
I'm excited for you.
Thanks, yeah.
You played 3, right? What did you think of 3?
I thought 3 wasn't bad. It was a cool little co-op experience that I didn't get to really play as a co-op game,
Okay.
although it was kind of meant for it. And I felt like what it was interesting to see what they were doing with it. My memory isn't like huge because I played it as soon as it came out, and I had to play it through a third-party not third-party software, felt like a third-party software, which was a game developer's platform for the video game. I think it was EA's one, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that felt goofy because I'm a Steam guy. I love everything
Yeah.
on Steam.
Yeah.
And having to be forced to go off of it after buying it, and I was like, all right. But anyways, I think that was when things were getting kind of weird in the community sphere where developers getting their own platforms and hating it because some are a little bit weird. Everyone was just so dead set on Steam. But anyways, besides that, I thought it wasn't Dead Space 2, but it was enjoyable because if you like Dead Space, it's fun. Dead Space 2 is a highlight, I think, for most people as one of the best space horror games to ever exist. I think, at least in my opinion. And Dead Space 3 went a little bit down, just but it felt like it was starting to get kind of corporate a little bit. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
and then they decided to stop making them apparently. So it was really exciting to see them make a remake at least, because it's like, oh, they're at least doing something. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, 3 was all right. I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, it's just because I noticed you said you replayed 1 and 2, and I was like, "Oh, why not 3?" That's why.
Yeah, it's not something that's easily accessible in my Steam library, I think.
Mm.
Uh,
Fair.
so that might be why.
Gotcha,
Well,
gotcha.
Dalit, what did you do?
I reinstalled, modded the hell out of, and started playing Final Fantasy X again because,
Mm.
look, man, I really like 10.
That's a good
I
one.
didn't get, yeah, I didn't get very far, but you know, I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna see what I can get done. I remember the last time I started up trying to do a no sphere grid run, which was great. It was going wonderful up until Macalania.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
then I had a bit of trouble. So I might actually go back to that save and see if I can continue. If not, if the week proves to be kind of a pain in my butt, I'm just going to continue playing through just a vanilla run, enjoy myself. Besides that, we have the CC with CC10 in Arknights, contingency contract number 10. It is my least favorite type of event from Arknights, but allows me to farm up all of my stuff. So I've been doing that in my downtime. Other than that, work, 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 work.
Mm. Final Fantasy X is one of those games that is, I think, one of the only ones that I played a good bit after it came out. I didn't play as soon as it came out. It was the hype, like, holy crap, is this real? Graphics are becoming real life now.
Yeah.
When it first came out. And I didn't get to play it then, but then I got it eventually, and I played it all the way through until the very last boss and just stopped playing.
I've done that.
Yeah, and it feels miserable to think about that. I've never beaten that game, but only literally because I didn't finish the last boss. And it got away from me. I'm like, well, if I ever play it, I have to replay it again. So I've
Yeah, from the
re-downloaded it.
beginning. Yep, from the beginning.
Yeah, I've re-downloaded it, and I've tried to play through it again, but then I just get caught up in other things. And I think that's the same that I've done with almost every Final Fantasy, at least within the last 5 years or so. When I try to download it and play it, I can't get through it all the way. I think the only one I've done, Final Fantasy 1 was literally the only one that I was able to go back and completely finish again.
Oh wow! Actually, I'm kind of impressed because I remember my first time playing through 1, which was, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 10, 9. It was like my fifth Final Fantasy game. That was the one that I had a very similar case of. I got pretty far in. I got to the to the satellite essentially, and then I just kind of didn't finish it. I have since, but I was stuck on like that the finalish area for a very long time.
hmm It was
Uh,
one of the forced video games of playing it with friends.
yeah,
So it's like
okay, fair
we all
enough.
wanted to play it, and so that helped. And that's why I'm such like a huge so huge into trying to get a video game book club of sorts together, right?
Yes.
Because it
Yeah.
forces you to experience these things, and you can get together with everyone and talk about it later.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
I just have ADHD when it comes to video games. I remember playing Tales of Zestiria, and I got to the final boss. I died once. I put the game down for a year, and then picked it back up and one-shot the boss. I was just like,
Mhm.
yeah, I needed that break. I needed that 1 year break.
Yeah.
Leak. Yeehaw.
Yeah.
You.
I've been so freaking busy that I've only played 1 game, and I was like, I've downloaded a game to play, but I'll get back to that in a moment.
Giddy up.
Yeah, so yeehaw! I've been just using Red Dead Online just to try and chill before bed because I really, really like. I said this last week. I really, really like riding the horse around the, all the map and stuff. My adventures. I actually really like the stupid bugs that happen to. I have a terrible guilty pleasure for terrible bugs.
But that's the
Yeah, so
fans.
but really, I love it. But yeah, what happened? Did I tell you about the weird UFO stuff that happened last week?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that was weird. No, it actually happened again. This weird random person just ran up to me, turned into a UFO, and was like blasting shit. I was like, oh no. Run away.
We've been down this path before.
What are we talking about again?
Red
Red
Dead
Dead Online.
Online. Yeah, right?
Oh, really?
UFO. You
Silly,
heard
why
right.
did you go? Why did you re-explain that story for Frosty?
Alright, alright. So Red Dead Online, very much like GTA Online, is that you can play with friends across the maps, and it has its own story mode and also side quests to do and dailies and so on, right? It's a multiplayer, so you can play with your friends, make a posse, and just run around and do everything together. We were just running around, just messing around, just dossing, and this my friend stopped and went, "Help!" And we turned around and we're like, "What?" I'm a UFO. We're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So he ran over the hill, and there he was, that like disco light spinning round. He was indeed a UFO, and it was like, "What happened? What? It doesn't even make sense." He apparently like touched a button or whatever, and I was like, "No way, is it just a button press?" And a couple of us tried it. But the other person was like, okay, guys, and we turn around and he's got a turtle inside him.
As you do.
I mean his torso.
Okay.
Oh
His
goodness.
torso.
Good. Just
Yes. And
like
then
a chocobo.
then he pressed it again, and then he was a boar with
Mhm.
the turtle still inside him. And then he got on his horse, and it looked like a boar was riding the horse. It was very bizarre, and we had to eventually, like, this other person was glitching, running towards us, and he touched me, and I was starting to glitch. I couldn't move or anything. It was really weird. So we said, okay, let's just go to another instance. So we did.
Mm.
That was the end of that story. Yeah, but there was another instance where it was a wonderful moonlit night, and I was riding
No.
my horse over the hill, whistling to myself, the whole bluegrass thing. Um, then I see yonder of the distance, pew 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 sounds. I'm like, oh no, not again, not again. And I go to swing my horse around, but it spotted me and was chasing me through the air. I was like, oh god, oh no, oh heck. So yeah, I had to like literally sprint away for them to lose me, and they just like flew over the mountains and started blasting other shit. Uh, it's what? Oh gosh, did I tell you about this weird thing that happened? So I was in another part of the town, the roads or something, and yes, it's not really important to the story, but it's just helping my memory. Um, I was on my horse, and then I wasn't on my horse, and I was like, "Wait, where's my horse?" And I whistle, because you can whistle for your horse, and I hear the very muffled, and I was like, I hear my horse. My map says the horse is with me, and I look down and I see two ears under the floor. The horse is trying his best to get to me. So okay, so I'll just step away from here, and I decided to try to whistle for the horse again. Maybe it'll glitch through the floor to where it's supposed to be, and it did, and then it was like Inception style sucked through the air to the center of town. I was like, okay, that's definitely not a feature. So I step further away from town and whistle again. And my horse starts running towards me, and great, it's working. And it happened again. It was like literally sucked away into the middle of town. And then an NPC passed me, and then a cart and a carriage and stuff. And it was like the Wizard of Oz, the beginning of Wizard of Oz. I don't know
Right.
what was happening.
Mhm.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Yeah,
th-
that
That's
game has lots of issues, but it is really fun if you
mhm.
just want to ride around and relax and just do things at your own pace.
Yeah,
It's just
it's one of
yeah.
those games I'm embarrassed to say I never played because it's such a big deal and so many people love that game. But it never really hit the right spot. I think when it came out, I was in a good spot to play it on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then it came out for PC, and then I heard it was buggy. And so I was like, I'll hold off and wait for them to fix the bugs, I guess. I'm gonna, hesitantly ask if you're playing it on PC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I am.
So,
Well, the main story is separate to the online. You can buy it together or separately now.
Hmm.
mhm.
But yeah. So
Red Dead 2 specifically
yeah.
actually runs pretty well on PC.
Oh, does it?
I
Okay.
I have it. I've put like maybe like 10 to 15 hours in it. I didn't really have any problems. So
Did you only put 10 to 15 hours because it wasn't a good game, you think?
no, I as I explained, I have video game ADHD, and it's very hard
Fair.
for me to finish a game. Period.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's the
Okay.
title of the podcast.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're perpetual backlog for a reason.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, speaking of which, another game. So, I have been looking forward to a something going live called Dark and Darker.
Yeah.
It's live now. So on Steam, it's a Steam Next Fest that's on
Mhm.
now. So you can try
Yeah.
lots of demos for free, obviously, of different games. The dev team decided to. It is a play test still, but they decided to basically do it at the same time as Next Fest and release it as a demo. So now it's on the page as a demo. Um, so if you don't know, Dark and Darker is like a PvEP, a PvEP, wait,
I believe in you.
PvE.
PvPvE.
Yeah,
There.
there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's but if you also like D&D and stuff like that, it's a dungeon crawling thing. So you are a cleric or a rogue or a fighter or a barbarian, etc. So it's swinging swords and casting magic and stuff. You can
Mhm.
form a party of three or duo or go solo into it, though it's harder, of course, and then face off against enemies and like skeletons and zombies and mummies and stuff, and fight, get treasure and do the hoarding collecting thing. Or you can also fight other people, the players, steal their stuff instead. There's the leaderboards and stuff. There's now 2 levels of difficulty. Um, and what else is there now? God, they've got like trading and stuff in. They have there's a new Japan server too, folks. If you're on my side of the world, um, what else? Yeah, there's lots of different things now. The Goblin Trader's finally in. It's not just a, a weird squiggly portrait for it's fully
Mm.
painted.
How
Yeah,
wretched is he?
he's very gobbly. Gobbly?
Lovely. Very good.
That's a good word. Yeah.
Goblet. No, my brain doesn't work today. Or ever. So yeah, there's also a Valentine's event going on too. So they tend to have there was like a Halloween and a Christmas event where you get special loot in the dungeon and you can buy epic loots in the store with your
Oh, dang.
in-game currency. Oh yeah, there's glamour stuff now as well. We can run around as a skeleton. That's
Oh,
good.
too right. Only too right
Yes.
that you are. Rattle 'em, boys.
Yeah. It's fun.
Rattle.
It's fun. If you like Marauders or Tarkov and stuff like that, it's very similar gameplay.
Mhm.
You start with nothing and then you try to get stuff and survive. If you don't survive, you lose all your stuff.
Do you build
You're
houses?
You can't build houses, but there is a
Mhm.
tavern you can hang out in. Now, right
Okay.
now, it's very bare bones. Like it just is. Like last playtest is still alpha, so that was in December. So
Mhm.
yeah.
This does look like a game that my friends would play, just to mess around. I was thinking Valheim for some reason, but that's a whole other thing.
Mhm.
Um,
It's
but
hilarious, personally. I think it's really funny to play.
yeah, those are the best kind.
Of course, it's also very competitive too, if you choose to go that route. But for me, I just mess around in stuff like this. So
Hmm. Now, do you just
you're
like kill each other like through fighting, or are you trying to compete to kill the
I think
dungeon first?
no. Well, there is okay. So there is a limited number of exits. Um, they come in the form as portals, and things like what was it? Fortnite. They got this mist, the tornado cyclone that comes in. This mix goes smaller and smaller and smaller, right? It limits the area you can run around in. It's a circle of death. So that's coming closer and closer in, and also you've got a limited amount of portals that appear near the end. They start appearing then. And some portals are blue and some portals are red. The blue ones, you can go out the dungeon safely. It takes you back to your hub and tavern and stuff. The red one, it takes you down into like a hell dungeon, which you
Mm.
can then do it all again with the same loot you just got, and try to get even more powerful loot and stuff like that. Of course, there is a chance you'll run into a boss. There are a few bosses that it's very hard to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's an
Surprise.
extra risk of dying if you go down portaling, basically.
And if you die, do you lose everything?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is that risk. There is like tactics people do, like they agree for one person to take the loot and just get out the portal. There's those type of things.
Mm-hmm. Looks
y-
interesting for sure. Yeah.
It's fun.
You're a creator for this game, are you not?
Well, yeah. So they every test basically they onboard lots of different content creators, and I was allowed in. They let me in.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm in the list of people that make content for Dark and Darker.
VIP.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why they let me in, but they let me in, so I'll take it.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I have made videos, though. I have.
Yeah.
I
serious game.
have
I'm
done my
not just
part.
like I've
Right.
done my part. I'm making videos. I'm making more videos.
Mm-hmm.
Am in fact creating content as per the contract.
That's true. And I'm doing my bit as well. I'm advertising.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy it, and I miss it when it's offline.
Mm.
Well, now it's up, so you can
Yeah, it's good.
play all you want for them.
Time to
And
not
it's
play
a free
anything
demo.
else.
It's a free demo. At least try it.
Yeah, I will. It's on my backlog at least.
One, like, two right. Man understands where he is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've recruited him, boys.
That's all it did.
Let's see. As for me, obviously weekly Arc Nights, because if that's the only other thing that's perpetual in my life at the moment. I did download Final Barline, the Theatrhythm game.
Oh, I did that as well. Hey, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been playing that. That game's great. That game's hard, but that game's great. The demo for it is pretty good. It's got like 20 songs on it, ranging from I think Final Fantasy 2, 5, 7, 13, and 14, and 15.
And 15, yes.
Yeah. I can play most of them on the ultimate mode, which is the second hardest difficulty.
Nice
But
solution.
there are even some tracks on that game, even on ultimate, that I am like I don't even understand. I can't even like I played Guitar Hero and Rock Band at like a really high level, and I'm still like I have no idea how to play this game. But it's fun. You have to build up a team actually, and the characters actually have abilities, and these abilities help you stay alive during the song. Just in case you do miss and stuff. So like, if you have a defender, when you miss, it doesn't take as much HP away. If you have a healer, when you get down to a certain percentage, it'll heal you. And then you have like your attackers and I think there's some thieves or whatever, or treasure hunters to like get you extra stuff. So yeah.
It should be noted that raising a team isn't all that. It's kind of a case of play the game and you have this extra layer of game on top. It doesn't feel ham-fisted or anything. It's quite nice, but it's something that you will get to happen to you regardless. It's not like a major working point.
Mm.
Yeah,
it really does feel like, and Aqua's the one who kind of talks me in on this. You pick your favorite characters and listen to good Final Fantasy music.
Mhm.
Hopefully, don't die.
They're important for the storyline, because the story will have missions, and if you don't have really any attackers on your team, like if your team is filled up with like Aerith Y'shtola, or the healing Y'shtola, and like 2 other non-attackers or whatever, the quest for the mission that you're on could be deal 4,500 damage, and let me tell you what, you're not going to deal 4,500 damage.
That is true.
So it's important for like the storyline, at least, and only can help you, can maybe screw you over if you're just doing the music list. Oh, what else did I play? Oh, I'm leveling Reaper now in 14. So
No, that's
there's
fun.
that.
Why you sound so down about it?
I got I was all like hyped. I got Machinist to 90, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play Machinist and all that stuff. And then I realized my fingers don't work the same way that they used to, and I cannot play Machinist. So
I was not joking when I said that class is Buttons the class.
I already have carpal tunnel in my right hand. I don't need it in my left. So I swapped over to Reaper. Reaper doesn't have it has a lot of buttons, but it's very much simpler. And I look cool. I got a new glamour for it, so thanks to
It does look really
Collections. Cool. Yeah. So that's pretty nice. And I think that's about it for all I played this week. I did make some really good food earlier today, but that's pretty much it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I will not post it on Twitter because I already know how mad you get at Reinhardt for posting all of his food.
I do get pretty pissed off. It's an angry feeling. It's just I don't, I can describe it. It's jealous and envy, and I see really good tasting food, and I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna. I'm sorry if that's about swearing. I don't know.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
I swear, Dory.
Okay. Well, then this motherfucker is about to enjoy some really good looking food, and I'm sitting here, and I'm now not able to have it. And the best I can get is some crackers or something out of the cupboard, and I'm just mad at the situation. And I don't know, because I know how it feels to look at that food and eat it, and I get emotional, and I'm just like, I don't know, man.
I understand your pain or whatever. Every time Reinhardt posts up something, I'm like, bro, where's the rest for the class or whatever? I don't see my food in the mail.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, it's just family time. Going to make some dinner for the family. I'm like, it looks like you're like serving them like gourmet food.
Yeah.
I don't doing like presentations and stuff and everything else, and just like ridiculously look. You go out to eat this food.
Michelin star family dinner.
Yeah,
It's just
literally.
like, I'm just like, how do you do this? But yeah, no, Reinhardt, that guy impresses me, like outrageously impresses me, with just all these extra skills that he just has offhand.
Yeah.
Like if you look at his Twitter, he'll post stuff about not just food too, right? He'll post stuff about like the figurines he's working on. And I think he did some video game stuff and some art stuff, and he does like all kinds of stuff. He speaks Japanese, right?
Man, this from.
Yeah, this guy's a all rounder.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The last food he was posting was like some new sushi place, and it actually kind of looks magnificent. So it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's all I did this week. So
Hey guys, don't forget to sub to the channel if you're into what you're hearing. While you're down there, remember to like the video as much as we like you. You'll be good now.
Little did give us a question. He also spelled Frosty's name wrong.
That's fair.
Amazing.
It's a hard name to spell.
Yeah, he said this will make it short this week. Hi, Forsty and Frosty. He spelled Frosty right the second time. So I guess he's learning.
It's for me.
Yeah, it's
least,
for
right?
you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's high Frosty and only Frosty. Congrats on a successful event. He would like he would ask a legit question, but I'm sure any question I would ask would be answered during the cast anyway. I mean, that's fair. That's
Well,
fair.
I
That's
mean, I
kind of
don't
fair.
know. He might have something that no one else can think of.
At the,
Or he could have something that he thinks it's very common, and it's so common that no one ask it, but people really do want to hear it asked. So,
I mean, it's little, so it could be definitely the most common question, or it could be something off the walls. Um,
mm,
but yeah, little doesn't have any questions, but we do.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I
we.
would say he said thanks for or congrats on the event, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I will say thank you for that. I appreciate it. It was a crazy event, and I have been hearing people say thanks and everything else, and it does mean a lot to hear those kind of things. Those thanks and appreciations do go a lot further than what people actually think. So
Yeah. So you touched up on this a little bit
Mhm.
earlier, but was getting into like tracking the world first race literally just like, oh, this seems cool, I'm gonna do this? Like you didn't have any like inclinations to do it, to that push you into that?
So, when I got into raiding and kind of the in-game scene, it was right around the time uh Second Coil came out, and I did that, and I was just obsessed with it. I got my little raid group going and everything, and then I would just log on. I wasn't streaming or anything at that point. I was just log on and make party finder groups to try to get people through T9. Uh
Oh, what a
which
champ you are.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was just a difficult fight, and I loved trying to teach people stuff, and I loved trying to make it happen and just see how far and whoever joined first, that's the prog point I would make the party for, and I would just do that kind of stuff. But I don't know, I've always enjoyed Final Fantasy rating for some reason. And when the Bahamut, the second coil or third coil came out, my team was all ready to go and do it and everything. I think we're a little bit behind on the raid scene at that point because we're a very casual group, but I did follow and see who got it first, and I believe Lucrezia got that first.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of teams out there, and I just noticed there's like this little scene. And then since then, I was following it every single raid tier would come out, and just kind of watch Twitter and see things that were happening. And at the same time, I think I was going forward with Bog Talk, right? And so I was already starting to dive into the community, starting to build up that whole podcast, and I started talking to some of these players that were doing world first stuff and everything else, and I would just get excited to see what was going to happen. And I did that kind of just loosely watching it and following it for Gordius, which was the first of raid tier of Heavensward, their first
Hmm.
expansion. Then they came out with
Everybody knows that
Midas.
one.
Yeah, exactly. And then Midas as well came out, and at that point, I was just like, man, to do this, there's no like leaderboard, there's no tracking, there's no anything, but we just see that a couple people get it cleared and they post, and we're like, wow, these people are like some of the best people. They're clearing it before anyone else has claimed they cleared it. And so with Creator, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to watch it, and when people post stuff on Twitter, I'll start collecting all the information and putting it on a spreadsheet. And I asked on Reddit, I was like, hey, would you guys be up for that? They're like, yeah, cool, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I was like, all right, so I'll do it. And so I did it, and I made it accessible to people, and lots of people went and looked at that Google Doc as I was working on it. And then I didn't realize how invisible some of the race was to people who were just kind of on the sidelines looking at Twitter like I was. And it became valuable data to a point because people could see what team cleared when on what fight. And, people love that kind of tracking to see how that progress was going. Uh, and then that's when people who were like, hey, are you going to do the next one? It's like, I guess I'll do the next one. And so I just kept doing a spreadsheet and then doing Mog Talk and interviewing the world racers. It just became part of the routine that I was doing. So it was something that was just, I forgot the original ask of the question. But it
Oh
was
yeah,
something that I was doing. Go ahead.
if it was if you had any inclination of doing this before you like started, or if you just picked it up and was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I guess I'll just do this.
It became part of just what I was doing with Mog Talk in general, right? It was just a side thing. It wasn't exactly like, one for one. Mog Talk in the spreadsheet wasn't like the completely necessary to coexist, but it was just so related to kind of what I was doing with doing all the different interviews with everyone and getting to know a lot of the raiders. Um, and it was a community thing. And I
Yeah.
decided to do it, and it was fun to do it, and people seemed to like, thanks for doing this. I really like you doing it, that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I got to keep doing it now, right? People are
Yeah.
giving me like
People
some sort of
expect it
level of
now.
appreciation. I'm all of my childhood drama of not being, searching for attention and everything else is all coming. And so I went ahead and just kept doing it, and then every single tier just kept doing it, and it had its own little life cycle. I even tried to like get into like web development stuff. I got like an associate's degree in doing that stuff too, and but like I was like, man, this is too hard, and I stopped doing any really serious hardcore stuff and just kind of made a loose website where I host a table from a WordPress thing on it, right? And
Yeah.
but it was all it wasn't something I was like kind of forced into. It's just became part of what I did when I worked with the community, because I loved doing stuff and I loved working with the community and talking to the community, and it's always been enjoyable to do it, because the Final Fantasy 14 community, while we can always meme on it, and there's always going to be some situation, and there's always some bad thing, and we're like, oh god, yeah.
Mhm.
You
But at
ain't
the same
kidding.
time, it's there's still millions of people out there that I love interacting with in the Final Fantasy 14 community, and that all share the same interest. And I don't know, it's something that definitely I would say I want to do. It was definitely something that I felt like, uh, not that I had to do it, but it felt like a responsibility of something that I needed to do. And I keep it up, but at the same time, it's fun. It's enjoyable. I feel like I'm still can stay in touch with the community while doing it too.
So the real question on this topic then becomes, I
Mhm.
mean, I find this to be an invaluable part of the community. Everyone rallies around this. It's truly the only reason I know what's happening in the World First race. Um, how long until we get Square to like just actually, you know, let you do this officially?
Oh, probably never.
That's not
I,
the correct answer.
Yeah.
it would be really cool. I think Square Enix is one of those companies for a lot of people that it's like, man, it would be a dream to, work for Square Enix or be a part of that company in some way, any shape or form. Uh, but at the same time, it's like there's so much within the world race that has to deal with all the different things that get tricky and murky and all this other stuff that corporate Square, I don't think would be. I mean, in that post, and I think this has triggered a lot of it, right? A lot of
Oh,
this kind of conversation is that post where Yoshida said that he heard the voice of the people wanting to have something official and standard set and everything else, and that he'd look into it. Um, and it would be really cool if something like that happened. I just, it would, I don't want to say it would shock me, but it would be like a monumental, like something that would be, holy crap, really, this is happening if it did happen. Uh, and so right now we have kind of the hint. Now, he also said that they were working on Blitzball.
oh
So,
God, I hope not.
Haha, in your
I
a
love
face.
long
10, but
time
I
ago,
hope not.
a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard
Let
anything
that
for a
die in a
while.
fire.
Okay. He keeps
So,
he keeps like listening like if he hears the word ball now.
yeah.
That said, look, all I'm saying,
Mhm.
just putting this out there, is we have a community established means by which to track this. It would be a shame to dilute the pathways to get the information. Just back what's working. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I've thought about it a while, and
Yeah.
I've done a lot of stuff with Square Enix too. Like,
Yes.
I mean, not a lot. I've done stuff with Square Enix, and it feels like a lot. But I've gone to multiple of their fan fests, and I've done PvP casting for them as well for their events, both in NA and EU, for at least three of their events, right? And they used my PvP video over at the JP one, and they translated all the Japanese, which was really crazy to me because it was such a shit. The only
Eh,
reason I made that video was because I was very lazy and didn't, when I was casting, I didn't want to describe what the feast was. So I made a video describing it so they could play it, so I didn't have to feel like I was gonna mess up a scripted line or something. Because I work best when I'm not under any kind of level of
Correct.
script.
Yeah.
So, uh, I made that, and they just adopted it over there, and that was pretty cool. And I've done a handful, and I know the community managers. I know at least some of the EU and NA ones, and I think they're cool people. Like we were talking about Reinhardt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it'd be really cool to get involved with them in some way. And personally, I despise my soulless. It feels currently like a soulless job, but it pays the bills, right? It pays for my mortgage. It pays for everything else. And a lot of these dream jobs don't do those things, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and so it would have to be a pretty good situation, I think, to where, and I kind of technically I have a family now. I have a daughter that's 11 months old. I have my wife, and so any kind of these like opportunities would have to be like a good livable opportunity too. And so it's asking a lot from what the game community would be. So the stars would have to really align for something like that to
Sure.
happen
That
too,
makes
right?
sense.
yeah.
They would have to offer a good job and a good situation for me. A low paying kind of like entry level job in moving over to like LA or something would, I would definitely, if I was living on my own, 100% up for it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, my life probably wouldn't even support that. But to like join in, and they had a position that paid pretty well, and put both what my family and I would consider a good livable situation, 100%. And I would love it, and it would be my dream, and I think that it would probably do wonders for my mental health. But that's again stars align asking for a lot.
Sure.
uh,
Sure.
so right now, what we're doing with the community, I think works out pretty well. Again, I don't make any money off of it at the moment. Maybe one day in the future, it could be something if it stays like a community event and everything that we could get to the level that WoW does. At least maybe not direct right at that level, but in that direction. And then it could be a little bit more of a sustainable thing where it could benefit everybody doing it. But just so you guys know, everyone who's involved with that event outside of production currently, because that's where all the finances really go into, because production's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that you can really get volunteers for as easily. But everyone on there, it volunteers. I volunteered my time to it. All the casters volunteer their time for it. Mods, they all
Yeah.
volunteer their time for it.
Yep.
It's not like a paid gig, but and that's why I put all the subs and bits to go towards the charity as well, because I don't want to feel like I'm doing any heavy beneficial or getting anything too beneficial out of it. And the ad revenue pays to production, and that's kind of the model that's currently established for it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, maybe that would go in some direction to where it could benefit everybody that's involved with it, and that would be really cool. And then Square Enix could officially support it in some way, but that's a huge risk for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So there's so many variables to it, and that's why when he said it, it does raise my eyebrows. I'm like, oh, that would be really cool if something like that could happen. But at the same time, like, I would be amazed if someone could figure out how to make that happen.
Hey, that could be a question for the next time Yoshi P allows people to email him,
Yeah.
or the next
I've,
media tour.
yeah. Well, I've coined a new phrase for this then. When the
Mhm.
blitzful flies.
Oh, the
Oh.
blitz.
The political ball, right? That's
Yeah,
actually
when the
really good.
blitzful flies.
Next patch, they announce guys finally blitzball, and we're like, oh crap,
Oh.
it's happening.
It's
It wasn't
again.
a
coming.
bluff.
It'll be like that Simpsons episode where they shot off there's a circus pig that was being shot out of the cannon. He was using the for it and had the pig with attached with the wings on it. And we're like, okay, that would be our
Yeah.
blitzball for eyes moment. Oh yeah.
So getting into this event, all right, that
Mhm.
just transpired. Your biggest event that you've had, period. Like
Mhm.
when
Yep.
man, you blew past that donation goal like
Yeah.
like ridiculously.
I set my expectations low. I mean, $20,000, I guess, is not that low in some regards, but yeah, we went straight past it, and it was 100% unexpected that we would go as far as we did.
Mm.
Because when we're doing these events, there's two parts. One is I want to make sure there's a platform for the Final Fantasy 14 community with the in-game rating and world racing. I want to make sure that's part of the event. The other part is we're all here and we don't have any money to do it. But what feels good when you're doing and volunteering your time is that something's going for a good cause as well. And so that's why we do it for charities. And so we have that as a part of it. But we have to balance those two too. Like we don't want to do it 100% of the event, donate to charity, donate to charity. We want it to be an event that's focused on the world race.
Mhm.
So it's hard to balance that until we get these like weird things going on where we had two donation or sub trains that was completely
Yeah.
unexpected.
Yeah.
And just getting hyped over it, and it became a whole thing during it. And we did it twice, one at the very end and one like in the middle. And Sam, he just did such a good job bringing all the
Sam's
hype.
so good. He's so good at that.
Yeah. And those sub trains brought in nearly alone $16,000 almost. Uh, and so it's insane to think that, right? And so it started off with very low, like, hey, it's okay. I don't want to put the goal up high because I don't want people to be sad if we don't reach it. I want to just put a moderate goal. Then we increased it to be like if we passed the previous max and then we passed that, I was like, well, what else can there be? We could just keep going, and then loosely out throughout the event. Of course, I said, well, yeah, if we hit 50,000, I'll do something never said. I said I would never do, which is do an ultimate, and I'll do the most recent one, so it'd be on the hardest difficulty that I could possibly put it on. And then they blew past that even with $6,000 more dollars.
Yeah.
Than we expected it to. So yeah, $56,000 is for us. That's crazy, and it's gonna put a new bar for us to try to pass in the future, which is gonna be much harder with Savage events compared to Ultimate events. But
Yeah, definitely.
True.
yeah, I was amazed by it and humbled, absolutely, by the community.
Yeah, I mean, I think what also really helped was that we had some very I guess unique incentives coming from the casters this time.
Yeah. Yeah. Strangest thing is the pilk, man.
Oh,
The wonders
God.
that did, and there's a discussion to be had, and like I said, we want to be focused on the world race, but also raise money for charity and everything else. And Sam, and Rook and Kex and Liffy are all they do this stuff for lots of different events, right? I'm actually an amateur, casting,
Hey,
in
same.
comparison. It's just fair, yeah. But he was just talking, and it's just like the conversation led into like something that he was familiar with, but no one else was really that familiar with, which was this pilk concoction of Pepsi and milk being put together and it not tasting horrible, but sounding completely disgusting. Um, and this off just side thing came up, and the community just heavily responded to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was positive. It was, you can say negative, but no one was like, I can't believe this. I mean, there's probably a few people who are like, I'm out of here. I can't stand it. This is disgusting. I don't want to hear it. But there's just so much discussion and it led so much energy behind it that helped raise money for charity because they would like, all right, we'll try it. We'll give it a go. And it became this whole meme that just kept going, and it was
It did.
completely unexpected.
Oh, I bet it. No one expects Pilk.
Yeah.
No one expected the pilk. No one.
Yeah. And I mean, Sam, of course, didn't realize what he was saying was going to turn into like something that would almost feel like it took over the event and the conversation.
I feel like
and the flood of the
I
event.
feel like Sam. I feel like Sam. All right, he has this. He has this innate ability to just say a word. All right, and then it just gets memed to the end of time because he did the same thing happened with Squapes.
Yeah. Well, no,
Wait,
Squapes.
what?
Yeah, Squapes was around before the event for that one, I think. Well, I mean, Pilk was technically as well. There's like
Yeah.
subreddit apparently dedicated to it. But yeah, Scrape was just a Final Fantasy 14 meme. That was pretty easy to bring in. Pilk was just off the wall in comparison, to be fair, because like it has nothing to do with Final Fantasy 14 at all. And it was just
Now it
just
does.
yeah, now it does, and now it's there, and production got behind it. Everyone got behind it, and I know some people will say, "Hey, man, you guys went a little overboard with it," but at the same time, you know, it helped be a avenue to raise a lot of money, and it helped
Yeah.
do a lot, and it was something, when you're doing the race, and especially in Ultimate, you can only talk about the same fight that you're seeing so much.
How many times, yeah.
And then and that's part of the reason we did the analyst desk as well, is so that we could let our hosts kind of have a little bit of fun, release a little bit of attention, and kind of enjoy themselves while still getting into it, but like not make it required to really dive deep and let our analysts really have fun with that a handful of times a day. And so I think that worked out extremely well. And I'm very impressed how the experience that we've had before and all this, like this brain I've been thinking about this for 6 months basically.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how to really form Ultimate, because it was such a huge ordeal to do an event that would last an entire week 24/7 and never go offline. And it was something that I wanted to do, and I was like, how am I going to make this happen? Well, we got to fill in spots. We're going to have little guest segments in there. We're going to have these analyst sections. We're going to give space in between all the different areas so the casters can kind of rest. They're all doing it for charity. I don't want them to sit there and go hardcore hour after hour, and it breaks up the I guess the not monotony is not the right word, but
Yeah.
the exact same thing that you're doing over and over again in some way, and it gives some variety to the stream, and like it's a breath of fresh air at some level, even though it's not like it's not fresh air, I guess, when we're having other segments. So I'll figure out the right wording for that one day, but it just to kind of shake things up a little bit. I guess that might be the way to do it.
Sure.
And I think that it really did help make those sections able to be a little bit more loose and allow things like Pilk to come into creation without destroying the event. Because
What a sentence that is.
Yeah. Because things like you don't want things to completely destroy the event by coming over, and it almost felt like that whole concept was slightly like it came in and you just couldn't get rid of it, but there's nothing to really feel bad about it, because we still kept a lot of conversation on the fight and everything else. It just became the running gag of the event.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing wrong with it. And I think if somebody came in and they only had an hour a day to keep up with the race, and they came in and it was like an hour of majority of Pilk, they might be like, this kind of sucked. But at the same time, I think it had way more benefits in the
Oh
end.
yeah.
For
Definitely.
sure.
It was good incentives. Like it got the donation levels up. And
100%.
then Sam, like, I mean, towards the end, Sam's like, okay, we've gotten like 95% of the people on this like cast to drink Pilk. All right. The only thing I have left is WoW. I have to give up WoW, I guess, to get this hype train going.
I felt horrible about that.
He
And
actually
so
did it.
Yeah.
yeah, I just because it starts this whole conversation
Oh
of
yeah.
like Final Fantasy 14 players getting a WoW player to quit WoW. And like, oh well, they were so inspired to get this guy to quit WoW, they donated a whole bunch of money to make it happen. But at the same time, I think he did that as just a crazy thing to do. And I
Yeah.
have to think, in the back of my mind a little bit that he wasn't going to feel bad about it because he kind of did this whole thing on his own. Um, and I think it's fine. You're always going to have the people who come up and say, "Oh, I can't believe Final Fantasy 14 community is so like toxic. They're going to make someone quit another MMO completely."
Sure,
But
sure.
no, but
No,
Sam
Like
no, he chose it
offered it
himself.
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to say like if Sam wasn't already ready to be able to give up WoW for it, and probably not a very indeterminate amount of time, because he'll probably
Mm.
go back one day or whatever.
Yep, he has to do a lot. He made conditions to where he
Oh
had to do a whole bunch
yeah,
of Final Fantasy 14 stuff to go back. Yeah.
yeah. But it was his choice. If he wasn't already ready to be able to like not play WoW for a little while, that's
Hmm.
the whole reason why he offered it up. He saw an opportunity there to, one, do some entertainment,
Hmm.
get that donation, get the hype train up, all right, and he acted
Hmm.
on it. And that's like, that's a Sam thing to do, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, yeah, you're right. That is what encouraged that first hype train so much,
Yeah.
is that because he put a ridiculous goal and people somehow were able to make it go forward. And so I don't even know how that happened, but and of course, while that was happening, I was not paying attention to stream at all because it was
No.
during a time my daughter was home and I was taking care of her before getting her to bed and everything else. And I just saw it off on the side. I'm like, what the hell's going on over there? Uh, and but no, it was really impressive to see that kind of stuff happen. And
Enjoying the video? Remember to like and sub. Helps out the channel a bunch, and we're grateful for everyone we get.
I'm okay with people's. There's some things that like if they're gonna be like, hey, here's an incentive, I'm gonna go jump off a second story balcony or third
Oh
story
no,
balcony or something like
Yeah,
that. Hey
nip that
guys,
in
you
the bud
can't do that.
immediately.
Yeah,
yeah.
but in that situation, and I've told Sam afterwards, like, make sure whatever you're doing, you're doing because you're okay doing it. And it's not
Yeah.
something that like, and he understood too that whole situation. But I think that again, in the end, it raised money for good, and I don't think anyone's really upset in the end, except for side comments that people might make about it.
Yeah, they don't matter anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the level of like event or things that you had planned in this event was honestly, for your first try at like putting an event together like this or whatever, it honestly went like extremely well. Like you don't get this level of extremely well of it going down the first time very often.
Yeah, no, and the Savage races, to be fair, were 24/7, but they last 1 to 2 days.
Mhm.
So they weren't so bad. I mean, we're expecting to do an event that lasts a little 1 to 3 days, I guess. Because on our next Savage event, we'll see how that goes. Because we want to capture the first 3 clears. Um, but yeah, with the previous ones, it would just be like we keep going until they clear, and then when Shiva happened and it became a whole thing, it was a very
Oh
long.
God, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we always loosely plan for 2 days on those and just stop it after the first clear happens. So we go a little bit into it, interview the first team, and cut it off. And the last ultimate, my daughter was just born and I couldn't be a part
Mhm.
of it, and Liffy kind of ran the show for it. And what made sense to be able to manage it was just doing 4 8-hour days back to back. Uh, and this one, I was like, well, let's try to match up with the team. Server comes up, teams will race about 16 to 18 hours. And
Mhm.
then after that, we'll just kind of go into a The production just keeps it alive, looks at the different scenes and everything else. But then Prague happened after our
Yeah,
customers were
go
off too.
figure.
And so in the future, we're gonna have to plan for like literal 24/7 coverage of Ultimate. Savage is going to be a little bit weird to figure that out, but even then, I think we can do it because there's going to be some competitive teams that start a little bit later. And if the world first teams don't clear it the first day, maybe the teams that waited a little bit will clear overnight. I don't know. And so we're gonna have to see how that works out. But yeah, it was a massive endeavor that came together, and again, it went way better than gone. I feel like there was, even though I put a lot of work into it, I feel like more work should have been put into it to make it happen the way it happened. So
Just
I do,
information gathering for the next time.
yeah, and there's
Your own kind
things.
of Prague.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, to be fair, all events that we had and all my experience with the Final Fantasy 14 community and creating the podcast and doing everything else and talking with people, and it all helped get it to where it's at. The years and years of experience of doing things Final Fantasy 14 related, streaming, put it on some level of events, working even behind the scenes, doing stuff with Square Enix at their events and seeing some of the stuff that goes into it. It all kind of comes together. And it's very specialized and tailored to fit Final Fantasy 14. I feel like there is some stuff that you could carry over from other events, but Final Fantasy 14 kind of takes on its own little world, I guess, because the Final Fantasy 14 rating world race stuff is different than it is over at WoW and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it made me very happy to see how well the decisions that I made months ago turned out. Because again, like the analyst desk, I was like, I want to have it. We need to have it 100%, and it turned out to be one of the highlights of the event,
Yeah,
right?
it was
And
very
I
good.
couldn't really envision how it was going to work outside of trying to get some level of whiteboard session going. And so this was planned before Corsair, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
we're bringing
right.
on Corsair. I want to do something for the sponsor. Well, now it's the Corsair analyst desk. And I don't know how. I think they felt good about it in the end, but I mean, it did.
If
At
they
times
didn't
look,
call you yelling at you, I'm gonna say it's probably a victory.
yeah. But I mean, at the same time, it is kind of like having MS Paint up, just a really advanced MS Paint that people can all look at together and share and do stuff with. It worked out an online whiteboarding stuff that companies would use, and I mean, it didn't look like a real life whiteboard or anything, but it was good. I think it worked out for a virtual whiteboard pretty well. And our analysts did an amazing job, which again didn't deserve it to be done very well. Some of those analysts, like Seiji, came on last minute out of a recommendation, and dude was absolutely like they were amazing at helping. Seiji was super amazing at making all this stuff go through. Same thing with Revan, who was part of the events before, so he kind of came on board. Muni has been around forever. Has even helped me with spreadsheets way back in the day. Did world racing itself, got world first before, right? And then Win Longon's been a part of it, just helping out with what he can. But yeah, for real, the analyst desk, Seiji and Revan definitely stole the show for most of that. And I was highly impressed with how that did turn out because it was a vision that I had, but I needed the right people to execute, and we had the right people who execute it, so it worked really great.
Yeah, maybe one day when Cleese retires from being a ninth man, he can
Oh, I'm
come.
sure he
He can
would.
come doing some. He's never gonna retire
Nah,
as a ninth
probably not.
man. I think he
I mean,
loves
that's
that job too much.
the thing is, the World Race event is now the place where washed up gamers and raiders can go and
Oh,
still be part of stuff without all the
yeah.
stress, right? Uh, that's kind of what it is.
Oh, you'll have Layla up there soon, because
Yeah,
I remember he tweeted, he was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this.
the amount of times that he quit.
Yeah, the
Race
amount of
Day.
times he's quit. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
he
how
did pretty
much.
good. Came back and did what? Got world second.
Yeah, they were world second. Yeah, with the group he's in now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I didn't think his group was like actually that far along.
No, they were good.
So.
Eighth group. That eighth group.
Well, I know they're
three.
good. I just didn't know that they were that
Yeah.
far along because they never updated or anything.
Yeah, and that goes in the whole
Yeah.
the offline stuff too. But the handful of teams decided not to do any updating because they didn't want to give away any information,
Right.
which
Yeah.
Neverland did. Right,
Yeah.
they were updating and inadvertently gave away information about the Phase 4 because their progress disappeared at 20%. And so
Yeah.
people figured out that it was a phase change at 20%. Yeah.
They were still world first, so
They were still world first. Yeah, absolutely.
so.
I mean, and again, more offline controversy with that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I enjoyed this event. I was there for like I think every night at least. Um it was pretty good. Extremely well put together, and
Yeah.
like I said, you don't normally get that on your first try like this, or like like it's not your like
You grow.
100%
It was
first try, but
when you growing like doing something a week long event is definitely something uh that is uncharted territory for me. So yeah, I would say there's a lot of things that would be considered first tries during the event. Yeah, of course there's like the events that we've done in the past,
Mhm.
but this was a whole beast of its own. I won't have to worry about it for 2 years though, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you
good.
certainly did a good job because the best feedback I heard about this, people were saying, "Oh, I miss watching it. What
Yeah,
what do I
Yeah.
watch
yeah.
It was
now?"
it was so sad when we had to go offline and the race wasn't over. Uh, because so many people were like, "Well, crap! I've been this has just been part of my life for the last week, and then it's just gonna go away, and the race is still
Mhm.
happening."
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so crazy how like bonding that kind of experience is with all the casters that we had and everything else, and everyone's talking together and working together and putting so much effort and energy into it. It's a huge bonding experience, and then you just don't do that stuff anymore. You just go your own way, and it feels sad. It's like the same thing with doing like I don't want to say the same thing with doing like a fan fest, but when you go to like a fan fest and you're like having all this fun and you have friends over there and you have all this energy together and you're doing all this stuff together,
Yeah.
and then you just stop doing stuff together and you go back to
Post
life, and it's like
Yeah.
Post-event depression. Post-event
I
depression
mean
is what it is.
the way I described it, and this is how I felt, and it felt miserable. Again, I haven't like hidden my I don't know what's the right word, my hatred, not hatred, just like soul crushing. It feels at least
Yeah.
it all kind of comes together with my job and everything else at the moment. But doing that and like taking a full week vacation to doing this whole thing and being just built up so high, all right? You just feel good. Everyone's saying nice things. You're having a great time with all these cool people. Things are succeeding. There's nothing really negative about the whole thing. Overall, it's just like a really great experience, and you just built up so much. And at the end of it, you're feeling really good. But then you're just sitting there and you just look down after you've been built up so far, and there's like a really far drop down, and you know it's gonna hurt if you fell off and you had to go down and go back to Earth after being built up so much, but you know that little effort is behind you, ready to push you off and make you fall and go break your legs and have to deal with the real life again. And then that's kind of how it felt for the last day on Sunday. And then
Mhm.
eventually I got pushed off and I had to land on my face and feel that soul crushing pressure of getting back to real life and not doing something that felt so good again. And I wouldn't relate that to how the chatters felt. The chatters probably were not that extreme, but that's kind of how it felt on my side. And I know a lot of people who were a part of the event probably kind of felt similar in some way or fashion with that. And the chat, they were all kind of bonding together and all experiencing this together and probably recognized each other talking in the chat and everything. And just all being a part of the stream is just kind of part of what they were doing every single day. And then it's just not there anymore. It kind of sucks.
Yeah, no, I was like, when I was getting to the last day, I was like, man, I had a nightly ritual for this week, and that was pay attention to chat for like 8 hours, and now I don't get to do that anymore.
Yeah, lord over chat and tell them to stay in line.
Brandish your sword.
I had to ban a couple of people,
Mhm.
but it was the chat was actually pretty tame for most of
Good.
the nights. So
Mhm.
Everybody just
Oh.
they were all enjoying Husky.
yes, they were all. Oh God, man, I was talking to people in chat, and I was like, I bet you this was the this is the talk Frosty has with Husky. Hey Husky, can I use your? Of course you can fucking use my music.
Yeah. He sent me his entire Final Fantasy 14 library
Wow.
that he's made for everything. But I did talk to a whole bunch of other people. I'm like, hey, can you give me
Mhm.
some songs? And they gave me like 2 or 3 things they made, and got a handful, 2 or 3 things, and then Husky comes along with like I
Yeah.
don't know 20 to 40 whatever songs he has, and so I'm like, all right, well, there's a high chance every song will end up as a Husky. Every other song will probably be a Husky song at this point.
Yeah, fair.
It was great. Everyone was dancing with the emotes in chat. It was
Yeah.
a good time.
I mean, for
Yeah.
the community, by the community, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to do with the event too, right? Is when I put on stuff and I do stuff, and I'm just so ingrained of doing stuff with the Final Fantasy community, is well, we need music. Well, you know what? Let's get some music, right? And so
Mhm.
I get it from
Absolutely.
the community. And I think it's a great way to promote things that are going on. And I try to use the tools that I have again to be a platform for the community to kind of show what they can do. And it was just, there's a spot for it. Let's do it. Same thing with the giveaway incentives and stuff, right? There's some really cool commission stuff out there. There's artists out there in the community, and so make them part of the prize pack. If someone donates, they get a chance of winning either a really cool art commission or this really cool just Omega smart home cover because it's just a funny idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and so we did those things, and I feel like it's a really cool way to try to help showcase the creative talent that's in the community.
Mhm.
Sweet. Here's a question, right?
Mhm.
If it's an if question,
Mhm.
yeah. If you were given you were given just like a big budget to work on this again. You
Mhm.
had ample time to plan,
Mhm.
infinite contacts, all the
Mhm.
budget. What would you do differently? What would you do as a new thing?
I would. um I would find out. I would do multiple events before World Race happened to try to figure out who are the best teams out there and get the top, I don't know, 8 teams, 10 teams, whatever, right? We're talking infinite budget. Do multiple events before the actual World Race happens. Then coming up to the World Race, the top teams that we discover through all those events will get flown out to Japan. We'll have something that's like whatever would be the equivalent of a Red Bull Arena or something like that over in Japan. We'd get all the teams up there and they would all compete live. We'd have actual live whiteboarding sessions, fly out some analysts where people can kind of work and do commentary and everything, do a live analyst desk. Um, and then focus completely on these teams trying to be the first teams to clear. And even though there's a chance that some other team may get world first in the background, the event will be focused on these teams that have gained so much interest and popularity over the course of other events that people will be tracking to see who's first and who will win the big prize pack at the end of this, right? And so,
Mhm.
super expensive thing to do. But
Very.
that would be that would be an amazing thing to see is all these teams getting together and fighting over a LAN, and there's no controversy. It's just people having fun and just trying to one up each other. Because going back to the event where I did for Square Enix, a handful of those where teams were flown in
Yeah.
out of the events, they were competitive, but at the same time, they loved just being around each other and kind of having fun and being all a part of this thing. And I think that would be the same thing with the rating community
Mhm.
if they were all kind of flown out and they could all hang out and be a part of something like that. And so, super expensive,
Oh
but
man,
that would be the
Frosty
dream.
presents Final Fantasy 14 Invitational.
Mm-hmm. In an invitational world race, and then the servers go down. But no, it'd be really cool to see that kind of stuff. That's hundreds of that'd be millions of dollars. That would be millions of dollars to do that. Probably more than what Liquid and Echo spent on their live events.
I mean, we can
Sounds
tell
fun.
you've thought about it.
Well, some of that I've thought about, but I kind of made up most of that on the spot. But no, I have thought about the reality of having to try, flying people out. And how they do it over in WoW, they only have one team. They have to focus on getting out somewhere and to getting production out and everything else. Uh, but with Final Fantasy 14, it doesn't work that way in particular because
Nope.
the teams are so small and it's so easy for teams to kind of pop up and be the best team if some really good players got together.
Yeah. So the actual like winners of this
Mhm.
race or this event in general, dude,
Mhm.
the production team was like who knew this production team?
Oh,
That
Liffy brought them in. So they were Liffy again. He actually does professional commentary,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And casting for other events like Valorant or League or other different events that are out there. And he knew them. He's from Germany, and these guys are from Germany, and I guess they just knew each other from other events. Um, and we were looking for some production event company. I was going to just try to figure out something and force it and do all that stuff myself. But I raised a sliver of money in comparison to what normal production budgets are for,
Yeah.
and they offered to help out. They had some new software, they had some new stuff, and they're like just a handful of people getting together to do production. They have their own little company going on, and they agreed they'd do it. And so we went on and started working with them. I had no clue how well they were going to be. Liffy did, and I was very nervous because we didn't have as many meetings as I wanted to beforehand to kind of introduce them. But I had at least one or two where I could get to know them. And I felt a little bit better, but I didn't know how well they were going to work until we actually started getting into the event. And you could see they were being uh, pretty serious about it during the initial couple of days before the event started up and making sure things were right. And they've never done an MMO race ever. They've only done like stuff like short events
Mhm.
where they would kind of do like Disco tournaments or whatever Valorant tournaments. So this was a whole new experience for them trying to figure out how to do it. But they had the tools available to them. So it was kind of them trying out a new thing and just having the right connection at the right time at the right place, and they were available to do it. Um, and it worked out. So we're very lucky that existed. Otherwise, this event could have turned out completely different.
Yeah. They were the heroes of this event. They were
They're pretty good.
so good. They were so good.
Mhm.
Um
Well, it's so funny, because they don't know any, like most of them. I think there's one person who was actually familiar with Final Fantasy 14, but most of them had no clue what Final Fantasy 14 was at all.
That was very
Well, I mean, they
impressive.
knew it existed. Yeah, but they don't know anything about the MMO world and like the game itself. But they started to really get into it
mhm.
because they were following it. They were having to toggle between the different streams and figure out, okay, what's the progress point, what should I be focusing on, what's the interesting thing to put on stream. And then they started to get interested into it too because they were getting excited when other teams were getting there, and then being able to see it for first on stream and be able to present that. They all got kind of really excited with that, and then they start bringing up the memes, and then they're like, oh, this is all kind of computer based. And they brought
Yeah.
some of their nerdy stuff out of the random just blue screen thing they did at some point, which again, no one's ever told them to do anything. They just kind of did it on their own. They were just having fun, um, and it was just so interesting, and it felt so good because they were genuinely excited to be a part of the event. Uh, After a while, you could really see that excitement be there, and how they were all just really happy to be a part of it. And it really affected me, right? To like have people who are doing if like stuff that is super valuable and do an amazing job, and then come back and say, I'm so glad I was a part of this event. um it it it, it gets me a little emotional too, because it's not expected. A lot of people, they kind of come in and they kind of grind away and they do their job and everything else in comparison to what I do in my actual job, day-to-day stuff. And to have someone who's coming in and doing such a great job helping me and then feel good about it at the end of the day, it's just such a great feeling. And these guys will probably, as long as we keep going down the same path that we are with World Race events, will be a part of the events going forward because of just that wonderful connection that we had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even in our Discord later, they're like, "Hey, if you guys want to play like, I don't know, what's that game? Everyone's really suspicious on a little
Among Us.
aircraft Among Us. Yeah, hey guys, we should get a Among Us game night or something going so we can stay connected and everything. Oh, this is cool." like,
Aw,
I'm like, oh man, we
You do
really,
love to hear that.
yeah, we just
yeah,
built like some sort of like connection here over this, and yeah, again, this is when I say like this event, there's so many things that went right that we weren't planning to go as right as it did and like go past above and beyond. This is one of them. Production definitely was one of them. So
yeah. It was great. I just know over the nights. I mean, they're in Germany, so it was like early morning into midday for them.
yeah, they were well. They always had one person, right? And so
Yeah,
people had to change their sleep schedules so
yeah,
they could keep the stream alive. So yeah, it was kind of weird. Like our main, well, our main, huh? It's not my main. Is not the same as your main.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
all the different hours that are out there. But yeah, the main hours for me were absolutely completely different than the main hours for them. But fortunately, this event started at a good time for them because in
yeah,
the EU, it's like what 11 a.m. or something when the event start, or actually it was like a little bit earlier because we did some DJ sessions before,
yeah,
so we start pretty early, 3 hours before servers came up. So it was actually starting at a really good time for them for like a workday situation. Um, but then it kept going and going and going, so they had to change their sleep
hmm
schedules to keep it moving for 24/7. So.
yeah. I just know like during like my late nights or whatever, like whoever was running it at that point in time,
Hmm.
they would be getting into it. They'd put up the what is it, the cat jam emote
Hmm.
over
Hmm.
during all the husky music.
Yeah.
They'd be changing up the words down at the bottom, acting as if Omega was like taking over the stream. It
Yeah.
was good. They were really into it, and
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's hard. It's probably hard to find like a production team that's actually kind of like that. Just like
I you
randomly
know,
looking.
I can't personally say that I know that's true, but I can say that I wasn't expecting it, and I was
Yeah,
expecting, again, uh, if I had a higher budget, we would be paying them a lot more than what we did
yeah.
because they went over and above,
Mhm.
and they enjoyed themselves, and I mean that was. I don't know. It was an incredible experience to see them to get into add their own stuff and add that flavor and they knew what to add. They were a professional company, right? They've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
big events for Valor and everything else, so they knew lines not to cross.
Mhm.
So they didn't do anything that was horrible at any point, and we could trust them to do that. But they did do stuff. They knew how to at least do some stuff to entertain chat. And when commentators were offline, which a big part of when you were around was when the commentators were offline.
Yeah.
Uh, it was just them. I told them, hey, pay attention to chat. Just make sure you're kind of looking at stuff and look at the leaderboard. Try to keep up with if any groups make any progress. Just do a mild update after day one. The updates aren't too bad to keep up with. And so they watched chat. I guess they just really got into like hanging out and doing the production and controlling the stream and just having fun with chat, which was great.
Yeah.
Genuinely actual professionals at work. Well done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well done.
So, I've got one last question, and
Sure.
this will wrap up everything that I had. So you're already looking forward to the next Pandemonium Savage raid,
Hmm.
World First, and obviously you're going to be doing some type of event for that, but only lasting like what you said, like maybe 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I'm putting the range as 1 to 3 days. I don't know what it's, we don't really know. It could be world first could happen in 14 hours. And then we
Oh.
wouldn't have that much content, but we kind of want to catch world second and world third, which could also happen in 24 hours. If that all happens in
Mhm.
24 hours, we're pretty much dead for content
Yeah.
going in those next couple of days. And so I expect it to be more of a my thought process would be somewhere in day two, the event would go offline. but we would see how it all feels. It's going to be much easier. I don't know if easier is the right word, but less less content we have to put up on the screen
Mm-hmm.
because the race happens so fast. It's 4 different bosses, so there's like different things to explore in every single boss. Um, but our plan is, yeah, to do an event, and it feels so small. I don't know why it feels so small in comparison to what we just did in Ultimate. Although Savage was like the origin story, I guess, for the world race, and us tracking it. Ultimate was something that came up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, in comparison to what we're doing, it's there's going to be a lot less going into it.
Well-
It's not smaller. It's just more intimate.
Yeah.
More intimate, yeah. Going through, we only have to take a couple days off of work, and so yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna see how it works. We have to, the framework for Ultimate, we're gonna keep with it, but we will have to adjust it down to a smaller size that would make sense for a Savage with the experience that we have from the previous events.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff from this Ultimate we do want to carry into Savage that we haven't done before,
Like whiteboarding sessions.
like whiteboarding sessions, and figuring out how that makes sense because sometimes that first fight's cleared within a handful of pools.
Right. Yeah. True.
So,
True.
so, where does whiteboarding really fit in? Does it fit in a little bit later in the day? Does it fit in? Maybe we try to do a higher level analyst view on the first whiteboarding session or how we're going to handle that. Then if we can even fit in any guest segments, maybe when we get into the next day we could, but when we're in day 2, is the stream already over? So there's so many maybes and ifs that we have to figure out. And once we can kind of weave through all that stuff, we should be able to get the event going. But I'm not too horribly concerned. I think we're just gonna have a pretty good focus on the fight event, just maybe a little bit less with the extra content. The analyst stuff will be in there, but I don't know about having like multiple different hours of just lore, story, history, and different just mog talk like topics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we'll see.
Well, I mean, if Savage goes the way Savage normally goes, each expansion, or at least for each expansion, it World First normally doesn't happen, at least for the 3rd tier, until either late 2nd day, early 3rd day. So
Yeah, and then there's also the on streaming versus off streaming and where all that lays, right? And so if the really hardcore teams aren't going to be streaming, then the event's focus will be on the teams that are streaming, and those streams will take a little bit longer to clear. It just depends on the decisions that they make. Because if we do any kind of reward structure, kind of like we did for this event, for the first streaming teams again, because that's going to be our focus instead of the offline teams.
which was definitely very good this time around because I definitely believe in incentivizing the people that are taking the time and doing a stream for it. Probably, definitely a little bit more than people doing it off stream because, well, for one, this isn't. It's entertaining event, so.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different layers to why that would make sense. It's on stream, everyone's watching, everyone can feel confident about it and everything else about who clears and whatever else. And then the other part of that is sponsors want us to have content on the stream. And
Makes
so
sense,
if we have a sponsor that's like supporting stuff, they would want to support the teams that are bringing that content to the stream too, right? And so it's hard to transfer that into like the offline teams, although the offline teams do add a lot to the event because they're the mystery in the background. They're the things to try to keep up with that you can't really keep up with anywhere except for the event, right? And what we know and what we can see and piece together. We're still trying to figure out stuff that's happening off screen the best that we can, whether it's through mysterious tweets or whatever it may be, right?
Tweets, yeah.
So it adds in this whole extra dynamic. And again, the world race was always, in the past when I was doing the spreadsheet, formed on all teams. And so it's the reason why it's where it's at right now is because of the offline teams and the online teams all racing together. And so, and I've done multiple different interviews with teams that got world first that were offline as well. And that built up the excitement for the world race. And so they're still a big part of it. And I would love to be able to reward them in some way. But it's just very difficult to do that with a streamed event.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you two have any other questions. We're sitting at a good old hour and 30 minutes.
No, this was really your chance to take the reins. After all, you sat in there and had a chance to mod this. So I think you really got to the
Yeah,
crux of the
true.
matter.
True. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, once again, congratulations, Frosty, on this like well
Oh,
put together
100%.
event.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yes,
no.
truly.
You know, again, it's still kind of weird not doing it, even though it's been
Yeah.
like a week after. But I'm still doing planning for the next event, so that kind of helps a little bit. But the it's sorry, yeah, I can talk for a while. That's what I
Yeah.
do.
I
Oh,
mean,
fantastic.
it's like it's your side hobby. Your side hobby is talking on a recording or stream for 2
Yeah.
hours most of the time. So
Yeah.
uh,
And this is, of course, the stuff that is in my blood now, the
mhm,
world race,
yeah.
and so it's very easy for me to go on for a while. But yeah, no, I appreciate hanging out and talking about it. And it's always fun to talk about myself, I guess, in some way.
Wait,
Now you are the interviewee.
yeah. No, you are the interviewee. You don't get
Yes.
that. You don't get that enough.
Oh yeah,
So
sometimes I can do shows and I'm like, all right, guys, go, and then I can walk away for 2 hours, come back, and I have a show done.
yeah,
Um,
that was this for us.
I'm glad I could pay back the podcasting karma in some way.
Yeah. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you guys want to check out the Twitch, it's Mogtalk, Mogtalk, just like it sounds. And that's where you can find me on Twitch, and then on Twitter it's Mogtalk Tweets. And then or you could go to that's the official Mogtalk Twitter, and then mine is Frosty TV Stream. So there's that too. And at YouTube, handle at Mogtalk is where you could find all of our episodes in there. But yeah, that's all the places I have currently. I haven't ventured into the world of TikTok and Instagram and everything, and
Yet.
just keep my old man self. Yeah.
Even I haven't even went into there yet. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming on and giving us
Yeah,
your
it's
precious
super
time.
insightful getting the inside deets on how you put that together.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. It's it's not completely inside, but it's just not talked
Well,
about. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's been fun being here and just talking for a while, and getting a chance to kind of take the things out of my mind and put it somewhere else, And so,
Yes.
thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that.
No problem. No problem. It was a nice break from talking about all the corporate bad dealings in video
Oof.
game. So
Yeah.
that's why when I messaged you, I was like I need to get somebody else on for this.
That's fair.
Yeah. But if if the viewers here have made it this far into this podcast, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And what are we doing? What are we doing this week, guys?
Dark and darker.
Dark and darker. Okay.
Yes.
I'm
No,
heading
it's
over
probably-
to various Frosty streams and video uploads to go see more about that. But when I'm not doing that, because I probably will have it on during work, I will be doing more 10, doing more CC, and season 3 of Overwatch starts. So I'm playing some of that too.
Oh, why you play Overwatch? Don't
Yeah,
quit.
no,
I thought you said you were quitting.
Yeah, you
Oh,
did.
I'm not gonna go. No. I'm finished with ranked. I'm done with that. That's not worth the blood pressure. It's just gonna be me jumping in with D and the boys and having some really interesting times. Let me tell you.
Yeah. What are the plans this week?
I heard they're getting a One Punch Man costume.
Yeah,
my God.
I'll chat about that next week. Cause oh boy.
Oh god. What are your plans this week, Frosty? Gonna get that P8S clear?
Yeah. I'm glad that people will be watching me.
Let's
Try to do
go.
that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I will be doing what we can. Again, it's probably going to be a mix of Party Finder, just whoever wants to jump in and try to make it happen. But my goal was to kind of do P8S through Party Finder as much as I could. But since this new incentive was met, I need to go ahead and get off that hurdle or get over the hurdle so I can get into Omega
Yeah,
and
has that-
actually get it done somehow.
Will you
Hey,
be
has-
streaming these exploits? Will
oh
you be-
yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
He,
Okay.
he has been.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Okay, good.
Yeah, and so I'll be doing that. Usually my streams are going to be like Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I'll be trying to get groups together for all these different clears and see how it can go, and you can watch my torture through all that. I'm going to try to
Oh,
get
I
some more
will.
time in Dead Space so I can get through for my video game book club thing that we're doing. And that's probably going to be the majority of everything that I'm going to do video game wise for the next month or so.
All right.
Ew.
I will be playing. I got to get all my characters in Final Bar Line leveled up, and I'll also be playing some more Final Fantasy 14, leveling up that Reaper.
One day I will too.
Yeah, one
One
day,
day I
one
will
day
too.
you'll continue the story.
I got no time.
Fair. It's worth it in the end.
I love it though.
Ah.
That's the sad thing about it. I freaking love this game.
Yeah,
I love the way it makes me hurt.
good way to put it.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
good way to put it. Well, like I said, if you made it this far, you can hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you guys next week. Everybody
Be
wave and
good.
say bye. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Before you go, remember to like, comment, and sub to us. Not only does it help out the channel and let us know what you're into, but it also makes you 100% cooler than everybody else. I checked with Aqua. It's definitely